What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, even the name sounds mysterious. It's Desra.
Ooh, I am mysterious. And sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
Every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we sit around and we blow the dust off an old PlayStation VR game. If it's a physical copy at least.
Yes.
It's a hard drive thing, then who knows what's going on in there.
Which is true in both cases this time.
This is absolutely true. We check the game out and we see if it's being given any love by the developer, see what's happened since launch.
Yeah.
And review it on a scale from 1 to 3, which is so arbitrary. Who cares?
Right.
Okay. That being said, Desiree, what game are we talking about this week?
This week we are talking about a historical game, a very important game in the life cycle of the PSVR and Sony PlayStation specifically. That's, of course, is Farpoint.
It's like historical game. Are we talking about Titanic VR?
No.
That's insanity.
Historical in the life cycle of the PlayStation because, of course, it was the first game for a very new piece of hardware.
Farpoint.
Yes.
By Impulse Gear. Published by Sony, of course, as you said. And released May 16, 2017 for, I can't believe it, $49.99. Now, don't get me wrong. I was just surprised. I thought it was a $40 game. I had to do some serious research to find out that it was actually $50 at launch.
Yep.
And as you said, it's the first game to use the aim controller.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
I don't think we should minimize the importance of this. All right, moving on.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those like it's preferable if you have it. People are just like drooling, like I want more games that support this, and people who don't have it kind of shrugging, like, well, what's the big deal?
People say all the time, "Oh, I picked up Farpoint. I got it on sale, or I got it used, or whatever, this and that." But I don't have the aim controller, and they always ask the same question: should I play it? No. I'm going to give you a solid NO right now.
Yeah.
If this game was made for the aim controller.
Literally, it was designed from the ground up. This was the as we said, the first game for the aim controller.
And Impulse Gear themselves, the developers, actually helped design the aim controller.
Yeah, with
Sony. So don't play with the DualShock 4. It's possible, but it's not possible with Move controllers.
No, it is not.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but this is also true. Like, was this a launch title? No, it was a little after launch.
This came out May, so
okay.
8 months after launch, I think.
Yeah, but they were working on it for a long time before launch too. So the whole using the moves to navigate, that was still kind of weird science. So
yeah. So let's see here. So Impulse Gear, from my research, they're a hard company to research.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there.
No, it's hard to find. The staff members. It's hard to find what they've done before. And Farpoint is their first game.
Yeah, I found there was a few entries on their blog that were really like, if you want details on like specific design choices they made, it's in there. I mean, it was definitely. It was funny on the a live show recently. We were talking about the fact that we have no idea, like technically, how difficult making these games are, and this was just like, oh, we use this algorithm instead of this. We use this kind of tracing instead of that. It's like, oh, this means something to someone, but not me.
I'll have to look into that because, like I said, I couldn't find anything, but I must have missed the blog entirely. But from what I could tell,
the tab that said blog on their website.
I guess the research didn't go deep this week. But I did watch a few interviews with the developers. Randy Nolta, one of the co-founders of Impulse Gear, he was saying this interview was from a year in. Right?
Okay. Yep.
And he was saying that the team at Impulse Gear had gone from 3 to 15, and at that point they were a year in. And I checked the date, and it was almost exactly a year after that that the game released. So it took them. It was a 2-year dev cycle with roughly 15. I'm sure they added more people to the team by the time the game launched.
Right.
Especially like during that last crunch period. I'm sure they were like really ramping up production. But it is kind of fascinating to see, look, here's this cutting-edge VR game that was done in 2 years by a really small team.
Yeah.
So that being said, what kind of game is this, Desra?
It's a good old-fashioned first-person sci-fi shooter.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a first-person shooter.
Yep.
Pretty story-heavy, I'd say.
Yes and no. It's story-heavy in that the action is suddenly stopped to download sometimes incredibly long sections of cutscenes. But while you're actually playing the game, there's not a lot of like in-environment storytelling.
Well, one of the unique things that Farpoint does is, so you get the aim controller in hand, and every so often it ropes you in, like not physically. You can just like keep walking and skip the story segment. The actual cutscenes that pull you out of the game, that's a different story. But these you can just walk right past. But if you want to take in everything, and I definitely recommend that you do, because I think the story is like a big part of this game. It's really well told.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that's like. One thing that could be a huge negative is, again, the action is suddenly stopped and you've got to watch this cutscene. Yeah. And sometimes like there's one cutscene about a little past the middle. It's like 10 minutes long.
Oh, I sat down.
It's
a couple minutes
just,
in, I was like, I'm just gonna take a break. Yeah.
And that would normally be like, no, I just want to get back to action. But honestly, it's really well told. Yeah. Both the animation and the voice acting are really well done. The writing is just spot on.
Yeah.
It's just so it's well done. I mean, the first time through, it's enjoyable. I can't imagine how annoying that would be. Like if you're trying to play through a second time.
Like I'm you'd be skipping through everything.
Yeah.
So, but one of the functions that your gun has is a scan function.
Yes.
And so you walk over and there's these like silhouetted blue areas, and you have to just scan them until you've highlighted the whole thing.
Right.
And it's a strange thing to ask the player to do. It certainly looks cool in VR.
Yeah.
But that's it, because really nothing happens until you've scanned the whole thing.
Right.
And there's not like hidden sections to find. It's just like, hey, walk over to this and scan this. And this is my first ding against the game.
Okay.
Because, I mean, playing a game like Metroid Prime years ago on the GameCube,
sure,
you could scan everything.
Yep.
And you scanned everything, and everything you scanned, you learn more and more and more about the story and like the rich, detailed background. And for a game like Farpoint that is decidedly a rich, story-driven universe, it doesn't give you a lot to do.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. I wish the weight for storytelling was a little less on the cutscene exposition stuff and a little more on discovering stuff in the environment.
Yeah.
I can kind of see, especially in reading some of the challenges they face as developers. I can see why they didn't choose to do that, but I think it would have been a much more satisfying gameplay if I could have just walked around and scanned a rock or scanned one of these weird glowing things and gotten at least we don't know what this is, or
I've blown up those giant blueberries for the first 10 minutes of the game, and I was like, should I be killing these things, or are these going to save me later? I don't know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a fairly straightforward shooter.
Yeah.
You're walking through these environments, and the first thing you do in the game when you crash land on this planet, you're sort of like your friends, your coworkers, your
not even that, because there's this huge space station orbiting this anomaly which is kind of orbiting Jupiter, and you weren't even part of that crew. You were the shuttle to pick them up, to bring them home.
Right.
You were just like,
I skipped the story today. I apologize.
Yeah. So you were just flying out there to grab these two people because they were heading back to Earth because they were on vacation or who knows.
You're the future Uber.
Yeah. And then bad things happen. Everything gets sucked into the wormhole. And
those people get crash land on the planet, and you crash land on the planet seemingly moments after them.
Yeah.
And for most of the game, you're following in their footsteps, trying to find them. You want to get off the planet,
right?
But also you're learning their story and finding out where they are and what happened to them. It's about 6 hours. Or it took me about 6 hours, but I died a ton of times.
Yeah, I was probably a little shorter than that. I think it was closer to 5. But yeah, it's a good single player campaign. It's enjoyable, but it's not super long. It's not super. No. Yeah.
I was okay with the length of it because I feel like if they started stretching things out, they told the story they wanted to tell,
right?
And I think the story, the pace of it was pretty well done. Outside of that 10-minute cutscene.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, when you could tell things were ramping up at the end, you're like, oh, things are changing. Okay, well this must be the ending. All right, here's the ending.
Right.
Oh, and it's over. Fantastic. I'm done. Felt pretty good about it.
See, for me, there's a few of those cutscenes where I thought, this must be the end. Oh, this isn't the ending. Oh, we're still going here. Okay. Especially near the end. Like, again, there's that big like 10-minute cutscene. It's like, oh, this must be the end of the story. This must be the end of the game.
It seemed a little strangely placed. That's true.
So yeah, but I will say, what stops this from being another, say, Evasion or something like that? It's not just a wave shooter where you're walking through the world. I mean, the AI and the enemies is really good. Yeah. They're tricky. They're nasty. You've got to take cover, and that's one thing. This is the first shooting style game I've played in VR where taking cover actually felt like I was taking cover.
Yeah.
You could. Some of the later enemies actually have like energy weapons, and you could be hiding behind a piece of metal and seeing it get warm and get hot as it is picking up all the energy from the weapons. Yeah. And it really something that sort of works a little bit in, say, Firewall, but really felt satisfying. We just like blind firing around corners.
Yeah.
You get there's someone there, so you like stick out like the shotgun and just fire away. That felt really good in this game. That's one thing I definitely want to give kudos for. All of the details and the animations on the weapons and the way reloading all that worked, it felt really good. The tracking felt good. It just felt like a really well done shooter.
Yeah, absolutely. This is when we first held that aim control in our hands, like long before Firewall was a thing. That whole 1-to-1 movement and like seeing like your character's arms and hands were exactly where yours were.
Yeah.
And even when you put the gun out, this hand would fall to the side.
Right.
And you're just like, oh, this works really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like that Impulse Gear. I feel like they have a lot of respect for the player.
Yeah.
They were I don't think they were too concerned about people getting motion sick. They were saying this is although we're trying to make this an accessible game, we have faith that the hardcore gamers are going to really enjoy playing this the way that we designed it. I was running around today, and man, you twist and turn. Like I had the turning speed all the way up, and I was running, and I was like, I'm running way faster than I ever do in Firewall or any other game. Like you really run around that map quickly.
Oh yeah. Well, the other thing too is actually kind of as a counterpoint to what you said. Okay. There is one of the blog entries I was reading.
I really should have read it.
They basically like the map design was also made that you could navigate through the map without ever turning.
Yeah.
So that is an option, and like enemies don't really pop up behind you. They kind of may get past you or something like that, but you can work your way through that without ever actually turning your head. So that is an option.
This is my next ding.
Yeah.
The maps for the game look really nice. I think they're well designed. They look nice graphically. Like the texture work and everything it's a good looking VR game.
Yeah.
Right. And with the Pro, everything's just a little bit sharper and a little bit nicer. So use your Pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always feels like you're kind of funneled. So you get into a new environment and then you can kind of like stretch out a little bit and see the outskirts.
Right.
But you're never going to get very far before you get kind of pulled back in again.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, I'm the kind of gamer that says, oh, the game wants me to go there. I'm going to go there, and there first because I want to see what's this game hiding.
Right.
And just like the no reason to scan anything, there's no reason to explore this world either.
Well, the level spreading out, what it does give you is better vantage points and cover for, especially in the later levels where the enemies are a little more, let's say interesting.
Yes. Although my favorite enemies are the entire first wave of enemies. I am scared to death of spiders.
Yeah, if you're even a little bit arachnophobic, man, this is not this was designed to freak you out.
Yeah, like these spiders are big and scary and jump at your face. Like
yes, literally at you.
Oh man, just thinking about it today, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was good to go today.
Yeah,
I walked in, and I was like, nope, it's so difficult. Yeah, it's a tough game for people like me, but man, enjoyable. Because I like being scared.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. One like so the weapons are great, but not universally. There's one or two that are like, like the sniper rifle they have is just one of the best done sniper rifles I've seen in the game. Yeah. Even better than the Halo one, which is my usual go-to favorite. The shotgun is super satisfying, and not only that, they're really, really powerful. Yeah. But they do balance that with like the sniper only has 3 shots and a pretty slow reload time.
Right.
So they give you, hey, here's a super powerful weapon, but you're not godlike with it. You have to be really, really careful with how you use it. The same thing with the shotgun. You are given like I think they call it a pulse rifle at the very beginning, unlimited ammo, but it's just kind of your generic weapon.
It also overheats.
It overheats.
So it's you can't just run around and hold the trigger down.
Right. And then there's a couple of the alien weapons that are, I don't know, I just felt like they were just kind of thrown in there.
A little generic.
Yeah, there's like the spike gun, which sounds like a great idea. You fire these spikes into things, and either they detonate immediately on impact, or you can like fire, I think, almost like 8 or 9, and then detonate them all with a secondary fire, which sounds great, but actually it doesn't really work that well.
I think it's one of those things that if you were like, I'm determined to learn the spike gun, and you only play with the spike gun, then you could probably make some pretty good use out of it.
The thing with at least the single player campaign that gets frustrating is like they introduce a new weapon, which is kind of there's this hologram floating there, and you walk up like, okay, well, I'm going to switch my shotgun for that, let's say. And then, if you don't like it, you could go back to that unless you die. If you die holding that weapon in that level, great.
I wish you could have seen what just happened.
Yeah.
Des snapped his fingers and his computer went black.
Great. And you just can't switch it anymore. Now you're stuck with it. So I ended up being in the very last section, the very last part of the game, the one place where you don't want that spike gun. That's all I had.
God.
But I beat it anyway. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, so here's the thing with all these weapons. They were never upgradable. There was no XP system. There was nothing interesting going on outside of the campaign. In fact, when the game launched, it was single player only, and I find that absolutely fascinating because Farpoint today is a much different game.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's an amazing multiplayer game now. In fact, I dropped in today.
Yeah.
I dropped in today because on June 27th, we got the Cryo Pack DLC. Free DLC.
Yep.
This did, I just copied and pasted. Let's see. 2 new co-op maps with reskinned enemies to fit the Cryo theme. All 6 co-op levels are playable in challenge mode. New player character skins and new virtual toys in the game lobby. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. The Cryo Pack, so I dropped in today and I was like, man, am I going to have to try to find somebody to play with? Like, is anybody playing this online? And within seconds, I found my friend. I found a friend, Carnflakes.
Oh.
Hello, Carnflakes.
Hey.
I know he's not watching this. I didn't tell him I was. And he and I, we went through about 4 co-op levels together. Yeah. And the great thing that these things did, the versus DLC that we'll talk about in a second, and the Cryo Pack DLC, they turned the game and they gave it an XP system. And you can level up your weapons.
Yes. So
if you have a favorite gun, you get to make it more powerful. That's so exciting. Yeah.
And that was the thing I noticed too, is like, all right, well, I'm going to try multiplayer because we tried to schedule, Jeremy and I playing some multiplayer together, and we had some issues with that. So I was waiting for that. It's like, I'll just see if I can do a quick match. And I found someone within seconds. And he rage quit after I killed him twice. But
so you're doing the versus mode.
Yes. So there's co-op where you can go through levels created just for co-op. This isn't levels from the game. This is totally new maps.
And some of them look really nice.
Yeah, they're really fantastic. They could have just had us go through the same levels you went through the game, and that's honestly what I expected. But totally new. And if you get taken out, then your partner can come up, scan you and heal you. They actually found another use for the scan. Hooray! And then you can kind of leapfrog like that. But actually, when Jeremiah and I ended up playing, that's what would happen. I'd run ahead, get info, get killed, and then he would kind of sneak up behind me, heal me, and we'd keep doing that.
Excellent.
But yeah.
And then on December 7th, it was the Versus expansion. We were asking Impulse Gear since pretty much day one, be like, hey, just give us a deathmatch mode. Yep. Give us a way for us to go in and kill each other. And then we got in the co-op campaign. We were like, cool. It's cool to play with somebody else, but we want to kill each other. Because at that point, there wasn't really any other place to do that on PlayStation VR.
Right.
But so they gave us the Versus expansion pack, which you would think it's going to be 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, something like that. It's 1v1.
Yes and no.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is 1v1. And again, this is another one where they could have just delivered the basic, okay, here's a map, here you go, 1v1. What they added was this great new mechanic where there are these, I don't know, spawn points or whatever, where if you stand there and hold that point for long enough, it'll spawn enemies from the game that are now on your side.
You're basically forming an army.
Exactly right. And it's the same, as far as I can tell, the same enemy AI that they used during the game.
Nice.
So like there's one of the units that they're just kind of these flyers that are really annoying, and they are just as annoying as they are in the actual game. They haven't been nerfed or anything. So it's really fantastic. And what I notice is the harder or the more powerful the enemy is, the longer you have to stay in that circle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's really, it brings a strategic thing. It's like, yeah, you can get the most powerful like tank-like thing called a Juggernaut, but you have to stand in that spot, completely open to anyone taking you out for quite a while.
Yeah, so. And the great thing is like these maps are fairly large for just two people to be fighting on. Yeah. And so if you start sending those drones out, it's like, well, they're heading toward the enemy, so you now have a better idea where your enemy's hiding out.
But I also, as far as I can tell, you can only have 2 different enemy types spawned. And then
is that really all it is?
It seems because
I'm not I gotta be honest, I'm not terribly good at the 1v1.
Okay.
We had done it without Parole challenge, I guess. We done a tournament, a Farpoint 1v1 tournament, and it was me versus Justin Parada.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that he took me every single match.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I'm not real good at the whole
I kind of crushed Jeremy.
competitive thing. Well, it's Jeremy's first time in VR, so not really surprising. So the Versus expansion pack that came out December 7th, again, more free DLC. It was Deathmatch and Uplink, which Uplink's kind of like a Capture the Flag or King of the Hill.
Yeah.
King of the Hill, I think, more is appropriate. And 3 new Versus maps, the player progression system, the weapon progression system, improved co-op mode with chaos difficulty. So, I mean, it just... Every single update wasn't just, oh, here's a new mode. It's like, here's a new mode and a ton of stuff to go with it.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things like if, at launch with just a single player campaign for $50, but now, I mean, just every few months, it seems like they're dropping all this DLC with all this huge amounts of extra effort put into it. Yeah, it was a good investment.
Oh, absolutely. So we said we were going to come back to the lobby screen.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. The menu screen or the lobby puts you in like a dormitory.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the dorms on the space station that got blowed up. But yeah, and kind of as you unlock things in the game, like little trophies or basically little stuffed animal kind of dolls,
bobbleheads and toys.
Yeah. Oh, hey. When you first played at launch, I'm not sure if you'll be able to remember this. At the desk you're at, was there a snow globe?
No, the snow globe showed up when the Cryopack DLC dropped.
Okay, was that all right?
Yeah.
Because I could have sworn when I first started up, which was in November, it wasn't there, and then in December it was. Okay.
Oh, okay. I got what you're saying.
I thought maybe it was like just a winter thing.
Maybe you had to drop into the Cryopack DLC or something, play one of those levels for it to appear.
For it to pop. Okay.
Yeah, because that was new for that DLC.
All right, so it just coincidentally happened to be between November. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so there's all these toys on the desk. And you hang out there. You decide which weapons you want. You check your XP. This is your main menu.
Right.
But all those toys can be knocked around.
Yeah.
And in the back corner of the room, there's a big hole with a ladder that leads down. You can't go in the hole, but you can knock the toys into the hole and get points.
Oh.
Why are you getting points, Des? What? Because it's something to do while you wait for somebody to show up.
And the thing, you can't take your hand off the virtual gun and pick them up. You've just got to use your weapon to kind of knock them in there.
Yeah. Oh, the guy I was playing today, he had that I forget what the big long laser rifle.
I'm calling it the sniper rifle.
Perfect. Yeah. So he had that, and he managed to pick up the lamp with it and carry it all the way over to the hole and dump it in. I was like, that's impressive. That's awesome. He knew what he was doing. Also, he only had his PSVR for 2 weeks, and he was already level 10, and I'm
Wow.
not even level 10 yet, embarrassingly enough.
Yeah, I don't think we should skip over that. Like, this is a game that has been out for, what, 2 years? No, a year.
A year and 7 months, I think.
And it still is and it's only 1v1. And even with Firewall and all those other multiplayer games out there, it is still very, very easy at almost any time of day to find someone to play with.
Yeah.
I don't think we should skip over that.
No, we definitely shouldn't. And it's one of the great things about games like this and games like Spark, where as much as we love Firewall, in who knows? I don't know how long Firewall is going to last. Like I hope it lasts forever. I hope I hope you can always drop in and find games. But having 8 people, that all are going to play at the same time. That's not something that's always going to be the case. And so something like Farpoint or Spark or whatever, when you only need one other person, the beauty of that is that there's either A, always going to be somebody playing, or B, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I text Des and go, hey, you want to play some Farpoint?
Yep.
And he goes, Brian, I'm trying to sleep. What are you doing? Right? When you only need one other person, it's really easy to find the game to play. I think that kind of brings us to...
Well,
it doesn't.
I just had my one little Des nugget, and this was a design thing I thought was super clever.
Okay.
Like, because this was, even though it wasn't a launch title, they were developing it in very early days of PSVR development.
True.
And they were like, okay, how do we solve all these problems of, we have all these enemies on the screen, we want everything to work smoothly, and we want it to flow nicely, and we want combat to be really good. Like, how do we get that when we have 15 characters on the screen? So here's one of the things, this is brilliant. So if you look, the backgrounds and all that, the mountains, they're gorgeous. And they're at rendered at a certain resolution. But actually, once combat starts and once all this stuff is going on, you're never going to notice it because you're looking at this stuff. The resolution out there drops precipitously.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost like 200% drop in resolution for distant objects.
Wow.
And they're doing that on the fly. Is like, oh, he's really concerned by the spider here. So for this, 16 frame, it's really neat. And there's another, so a lot of these games where, and this, like, they basically will check where you're looking and not bother rendering anything that's not where you're looking. Or if there's something behind something you're looking at, they're not going to bother rendering that because that's going to save cycles. But what they have to do is you've got to check both eyes, right? Because both eyes are getting rendered separately. So they cheated a little bit and just created like, all right, we'll make one eye that actually is both viewpoints.
Huh.
And so it was just, so in that blog, there's all these little kind of things they do. And they would say like, this shaved 0.1 milliseconds or 0.1 frames per millisecond or something. So I just thought that was neat. Like, you'll never notice that gorgeous sunset over there pretty much goes away and looks like crap because you've got a spider in front of your face.
I say we stop filming.
Yeah.
I go read the whole blog.
Yeah.
And then we come back and start the show over. So I can know something about development cycle.
No, it was just I just thought it was a fun thing to pull from that.
Awesome. No, thank you so much. I'm glad you did more research than I did. So that brings us to our rating.
Yeah. Rating scale is pretty easy to understand, I thought. One is, yes, you have to buy this game. If you have a PSVR, it should be in your library. It's either the best of the best of this kind of game or just something that you should really, you should play it. 2 is, yeah, sure, why not? If it's on discount or if it's a genre you particularly like, this is definitely something you want to take a look at. 3 is, no, do not buy this game. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and tell developers that we deserve better. So 1, 2, or 3, what do you think?
When this game launched at $50, and it was only a single player campaign, and we talked about like maybe it's not the best first person shooter. It might not even be a great first person shooter. I think it was a good VR first person shooter, right? Our first real first person shooter in VR. I think that it was a great first entry. I thought it was worth $50 then, and since then, in the last however many months we said it's been, not only did we, I want to say like double the size of the game with all this DLC content for free, but now the game is only $20, and that's when it's not on sale. Right. It has certainly been on sale in like flash sales or like the anniversary sales. It's always on sale. Not always. So for the going rate of $20, I mean, this, I feel like Impulse Gear and Sony did everything right from start to finish on this. Kept giving us new content, kept giving us free DLC, priced it accordingly. As it got older, dropped the price. I was like, this is the definition of one, hands down.
Yeah, I want to agree with most of that, but I'm going to put an asterisk.
Sure.
If you have an aim controller, this is a 1. If you don't, buy an aim controller and then go get this game.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, this, like everything you said, absolutely holds true. Holds true.
It's true.
Yeah. If you only have the DualShock 4, but you are not going to get the satisfying gameplay.
Absolutely not.
The other thing I want to say is the multiplayer here. Like, hey, Firewall is great and fantastic, but honestly, a lot of times it can be a little less than fun. It can be intense, it can be exciting, it can be frustrated, but sometimes it's not fun. The multiplayer in Firewall is just straight up fun. It is crazy, it's chaotic. It just brings me back to like Quake and Unreal, where just everything crazy is going. You don't get in Firewall. You get the okay, I'm being stealthy. We're walking around
very, very tense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really intense and strategic, and this is the I'm running around and crazy stuff is happening everywhere. So if you kind of like are missing that in Firewall, definitely go check out Farpoint. So it is a 1 for me, just with that little asterisk.
I 100% agree. I feel bad, just like anyone who played Resident Evil 7 in non-VR. I feel bad for anyone who played Farpoint with the DualShock 4.
Yeah.
Because really, there's a right and wrong way. Wrong way. That's a horrible way to say things. But this is the absolute best way to experience this game.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to put out the question, as we always do to you folks. What other games do you want us to talk about?
Are you happy we finally covered Farpoint? Hooray!
God Cannon's happy.
Yeah.
PSVR Underground. This was his weekly request.
Yes.
So thank you so much. What did you think of Farpoint? Make sure you tell us in the comments. And that pretty much does it for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. The pizza's here, so I got to go. As always, I'm Brian Paul, and that's Desra. We'll see you next week.